Hey guys, welcome in and a very happy Thursday to you. It is last call. That's right, last call. Plenty of NHL action tonight, NBA, Major League Baseball, KBO. Got a little something for everyone. We're going to get you. We're going to get you all the information you need. See if we can't answer any questions that you may have with three of the best over at WagerTalk.com. As Carmine Bianco will be here, Andy Lang, the prop guard, and of course, Adam Trigger will close out the show here, talking a little KBO action or / Major League Baseball action, depending on what you guys got. Meghan Payton will be here on Saturday. She's doing a little traveling, so I'll take the reins here for her and see if we can't cash a few tickets here tonight. Once again, if you're just joining us for the first time here on Last Call, it's simple. If you have a question, go ahead and drop it in. A particular game tonight, whether it be in the NHL, the NBA, the Major League Baseball slate, future questions, prop questions for Andy, all available here, guys, for you. So any last-minute questions that you may have, line them up, get them ready as we welcome in the one and only Mr. Carmine Bianco, ready to roll here, Carmine, tonight as the NHL playoffs are in full effect. You're going to be talking about how Toronto fans will have to do welfare checks on those Toronto fans after tonight's game again against the Lightning. But quite the record you've amassed this season here on the ice. 388 and 273, good for, I believe, a little over 115 units in the NHL season. And you got a profit for people you got a promo, rather, for people to jump on with you, man. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to Game 2 action tonight. The playoffs have been fantastic so far. We had a 5-1 night last night, and I'm hoping to build on that 9-3 start to the playoffs. I'm going to watch the game with a few friends over at the Prez's place. They're all Leaf fans. I'm not a Leaf fan. I live north of the border in Toronto, surrounded by Leaf fans. You know how bad it was? Joe, after Game 1, the next morning on a TV station called CP24, which is an all news station, they had a neuropsychologist on the show telling people how to deal with the loss in Game 1 if they're feeling bad or suicidal. It was unbelievable. This is what happens in Toronto. A neuropsychologist brought in to talk to people after Game 1. But anyways, getting to the game, the Leafs obviously opened up as a favorite, took some more money. They're at I think they were at minus 160 last I saw. Tampa was at 140. And the thing about the Game 1 that I wanted to talk about, and I talked about on Puck Time, is that Toronto was outcoached. Sheldon Keefe was outcoached by Cooper, and it goes back to the last game, the second last game of the season. Toronto went down to Tampa in a completely meaningless game, and one in which I thought they should rest their players. And Tampa threw their body around in that game. They were physical. Maroon, Hagel, they were all throwing their bodies around, starting fights. And I think the Leafs thought that maybe this was a prelude to what was about to happen, that Tampa was going to try and turn this into a physical series. They didn't. What they did was they allowed Toronto to be the physical ones in Game 1. They found all the open space. And with that open space came goal after goal after goal, 7 of them for Tampa Bay. The Leafs need a reset to get back to what they planned on doing in Game 1 and doing it in Game 2. I draw a line through this game. This is a game. This is a series I think is going to go 6, at least 6, and possibly 7, like it did last year. And I think we're going to see some goals tonight. That's one of the reasons why we're going to talk about some props in this game. I played this last night at 6. Throughout the day, it hovered at 6.5, some 6s on the board. I see 6s on the Wager Talk live lines across most of the boards now. It's where it should be, laying about 120 in juice. I think we'll get off to a good start in the first period, and that first period total is over 1.5 minus 140. I think that's a good play to take in this one. I'm not sure there'll be any hangover or any carryover of that physical play in Game 1. I think the Leafs are going to try and play their game. They're going to try and score goals. But this Tampa team, 3 straight trips to the Stanley Cup, 2 wins and losing to Colorado last season. This is a team full of veterans, and they know how to score. They know how to win as well too. So I'm looking forward to this game. But over 1.5, minus 140, I think is the play that I favor more so than the game total, just because there's 6.5s out there. And we have some player props if you want to talk some of them, Joe.
Well, let me ask you this here, Carm, because obviously, boy, oh boy, that was vintage Tampa power play in game one. But boy, they got injuries left and right on the back end over there. I didn't think Vasilevsky was great, but he was certainly good enough when you're going to drop as many goals as they did into the net here. Are we anticipating that the power play is this efficient again tonight here for Tampa? Is that how your props are setting up, or you looking more on the Toronto side?
No, I'm looking both ways. A couple players on both sides because I expect to see scoring from both sides. So obviously the injuries to the Tampa's defensive corps obviously is a big concern. Obviously, one of them with that hit from Michael Bunting, who's now suspended for 3 games. Where the joke is he's suspended for the rest of the series because we're expecting Tampa in 4. But with that said, it's just the fan base up north is you just can't talk to them. They're the center of the universe up here, and they can do no wrong, or they're jinxed, or it's the referees are against them. The game is played on the ice, and if you do your job on the ice, normally you'll get it done. You need a 60-minute effort, and sometimes you need even longer than 60 minutes against this Tampa Bay team because they don't take a night off, and they haven't taken a night off once the playoffs start. They've been pretty much flawless the last 3 seasons. If they take any nights off, it's usually in the last month of the regular season once they clinch the playoff spot and John Cooper is managing minutes for his team. But as far as points go, no pun intended, Braden Point, over 2.5 shots on goal. I think he'll be a big part of the team. And Stamkos as well, too. They're the big guns for this Tampa team. And when you have 1 or 2 guys out of the lineup, you normally rely on your big guns to get maybe a little bit more ice time to be out there. They're going to be out there in the power play. They're going to be out there if they're trailing in the third period and getting extra shifts, and with them come extra shots on goal. So getting each one of them at 2.5 and laying minimal juice up in the 120, 130 range is always a good thing. And then as far as Toronto goes, Tampa's found a way to shut down Austin Matthews, at the very least minimizing the shots on goal. I wouldn't touch the over 4.5 on it, even though the VIG is only minus 105. I'd probably look at Mitch Marner in that aspect. Marner gets some shots on goal. He has been pretty profitable over the last month or so. And a plus money one, John Tavares. Tavares had 4 shots on goal in game 1. He played less than 15 minutes on the ice in that game, and his total is at 3.5 plus 120 to the over. In I think 3 prior games against Tampa, he's had 3 or more shots on goal. I think one of them he had 5 shots on goal. So again, that second line of Toronto has to do something today, and Tavares is that second line. So I expect to see Toronto's big guys show up. If they don't, this series is going to be over before we know it.
Yeah, well, it is here. We got a couple of questions we'll get to in just a second, but I'm seeing 30.5 for Vasilevsky saves here tonight, Carm. Do you believe that the Cat can get it done and at least get 31 here tonight?
I do. It's just going with the narrative that I expect to see some goals in this game. And with goals, there's always a lot of shots. And Vasilevsky has been just so good. And even it's the thing with Cooper is even if Vasilevsky hypothetically after 20 minutes the Leafs have scored 3 goals, he's never getting pulled from that game. He's always going to be in there. Your fear always is a goalie gets pulled and you have the saves prop, but Vasilevsky isn't one of those. It's a different story with let's say with the Florida series and Alex Lyon. If he starts game 3, Bobrovsky is ready to go. But if they give Lyon the start because he won the last game and he gets lit up in that first period, he's gone. That's one of the ones where you wouldn't want to take the shot prop because he's a goalie that could get pulled. They probably, or the Dallas-Minnesota game, Minnesota probably should have pulled Marc-Andre Fleury, but they hung him out to dry in that game and left him in there for I think 7 goals for the Dallas Stars. But so it's the goalies that don't get pulled that I would look at taking the shot props with. The one I'll tell you in this game, here's the interesting thing: is the shot props on Samsonov. There's an issue at play here. There's speculation that Samsonov is injured. He's playing through an injury. Matt Murray obviously is injured. I think Joseph Wall is the backup. Samsonov is having hamstring injuries. There are goalies tweeting out. I think McElhaney, I think, who played for Tampa Bay, Mike McKenna, talking about how in game one he looked like he was favoring his hamstring. If he somehow goes down and has a problem today, they have they have to pull him. They have to go to their backup goalie. And I'd probably look at the under in the shot props for Samsonov. You don't want to see a guy leave a game getting injured, but sometimes the speculation is right, and he has not been himself. He's been fighting something for the last month of the season. He's in there because they need him. They have no other number one goalie to go with. So if there's a lot of heavy traffic in front of Samsonov today and a lot of shots, we could see a second goalie for Toronto in this game.
Yeah, well, I mean, the poor kid had to come in too, third stringer on the bench. The young guy there had to come in, and Tampa's going to smell blood in the water here. So it should be an interesting one here. Carm, let's get to a couple of questions that they've got for you in the chat. Again, guys, any NHL questions about tonight's card, go ahead. Drop them in the chat here. We'll get as many answered as we can here from Carm. And you had to know that this was coming from Ghosted, right? Because it's on a lot of people's minds, especially our friends in Vegas here. There's no way, right? They can go back to Winnipeg down 2-0, Carm, right? I mean, like, no way that can happen, or is it very possible that could happen here tonight?
Yeah, they say there's no way that's possible. But, the problem is that, listen, Joe Public, and I can throw myself into the Joe Public category, have been doing well the last month. The games that people assume should be coming in are coming in. Everyone was on the Edmonton Oilers in regulation time yesterday. They got it done. Everyone is likely on Colorado in regulation, and they're on Vegas because they're the number one seed in the West, and they lose a game to Winnipeg, and they shouldn't lose 2 games to Winnipeg. The problem is that with that line of thinking is you can't overreact to a game, but at the same time, you have to look at the numbers. And Hellebuck has been very good down the stretch. This Winnipeg team, people just don't give them the respect they probably deserve, even though they're a wild card team. They suffered through the middle of the season, which dropped them from top spot in the West down to fighting for a play. They've been playing playoff hockey for the last 2 weeks, trying to hold on to a wild card spot, and did it, winning some crucial games. They win that first game, and the 5-1 game, forget about the scoreline because it was really a 3-1 game. A late weird power play goal and then an empty netter. Those were just icing on the cake. It was pretty much a 3-1 game. But it just reminds me of 2018, 2019, Tampa Bay win the President's Trophy. They play Columbus in the first round, and Columbus beats them in the first game after Tampa choked away a 3-0 lead and lose 4-3. And everyone's like, there's no way Tampa's losing game 2 at home. And then they lose game 2, and no way they're losing game 3. I was one of the ones. I lost on game 2, 3, and 4. I could have built another wing on the house had I just stayed away from Tampa Bay. I'm not letting it happen again. I actually think that Winnipeg is a live dog here. For you guys that have Vegas, I don't have an official play on it. So I hope you're right. And the Vegas Golden Knights even this series up. But the Knights aren't getting any of my money tonight. I'm just a spectator.
So what I'm hearing is just because they have to win don't mean they're going to win. I get it. I understand. Yeah. I absolutely understand. The same argument can be made for the Golden State Warriors tonight. Andy Lang coming up here in just a minute, guys. We'll talk some NBA with him as he's got a play in one of tonight's games he's going to break down for you. So any NBA questions, drop them in the chat room. We will get those answered here for you coming up. But Carm, once again, your record out of control. Ghosted knows it. We got anybody that's been following you and partnering up knows that your record is out of control. And I believe is it Cup 50? You can get every one of the rest of your plays throughout the playoffs right until the Stanley Cup champ.
Yeah, right through the Stanley Cup Finals. It's up on my page at $219. But if you use Cup 50, it'll knock $50 off. You get it for $169, which is essentially like 6 days of 1 day packages. But instead, you're going to get the rest of the cup, which is just a ton of action left. We're only into game 2 of these series, so there's plenty of hockey left. And I will likely have a 5% play up for tomorrow in the NHL. So that in itself is $35. So it's a great deal to pick up.
One final question: do you have the Florida Panther future ticket ready, lined up, or all right? No, you don't have to answer that. No big deal.
I do have that.
You know
I do have Florida Panthers future.
Yeah.
But no, I released at the beginning of the season. I released to my clients a play on the Edmonton Oilers at 15-1 to win the cup, and the Florida Panthers at 9-1 to win the cup. I knew the Edmonton would be good. I didn't think Florida would be this bad. I'm drawing a line through. Listen, I don't think they're going to win the series. I'm drawing a line through game 2 of that one. I think the Bruins are the better team, but sometimes teams like Florida, these wildcard teams, can jump up and bite you in the ass. So no President's Trophy winner has won the cup since 12-13 when it was the Chicago Blackhawks. So
yeah, and nobody knows it better than the Panthers, who had it last year, and that worked out all well. Carmine Bianco, my man, best of luck with your plays tonight. We appreciate it, dude. We'll talk to you again. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on Puck Time.
All right, thanks, guys. Good luck.
All right, guys, awesome stuff here. And again, drop those questions in. We've got Andy Lang coming up here in just a minute. We're going to be talking NBA. Also, Adam Trigger coming up, talking a little KBO, as he is absolutely crushing it in the Korean Baseball League. And, of course, there's a couple of Major League Baseball games coming up still here tonight in a light card. But opportunities present themselves. Any last-minute questions you guys have, drop them in the chat. We'll get them answered for you, as Andy Lang in the house, ready to roll here. And Andy, what is going on here, my man? I believe we do have, actually, is it not one, but we got 2 5% plays from you that are coming up this weekend, really? Well, what's going on?
Yeah, we got a couple great spots. We have a 5% soccer play. We're 4-0 lifetime in 5% soccer plays. Number 1 last 365 days. Number 1 this year in soccer. About 5% UFC play. So doing really well in both of those sports. They happen to come on Saturday, just the way it worked out. So the Weekend Warrior special works out perfect for my plays. You can get both of those 5% plays if you just want those. That's fine. Or if you want to follow the rest of our NBA, NHL, I've got a couple of cross plays, a little bit of everything. You know how we do it, Joe. We have a little of everything going.
Hey, listen, not 1 but 2 up at his page right now there at Wager Talk. And all right, we got some we were just talking about, right? There's no way they can go down 2-0, right? There's no way. Well, there's no way these teams can go down 3-0, right? I mean, there's some intriguing matchups in the association here tonight, but maybe the one that's the most intriguing over the last hour or so is finding out that Kawhi Leonard is soft as ass, Andy, apparently, and somehow can't figure out a way to make it onto the court. So now we've got all sorts of issues with this game, and the Clippers, they took away the home court advantage from Phoenix. Now a huge opportunity for Phoenix. What are you looking at in this game here tonight?
Oh, there's no way they'll go down 2-0. There's no way Kawhi's going to sit out in a playoff series when they just wait, no. Oh, yes, he can. So
yeah.
How'd you like to be Steve Ballmer? What's the phrase? Mo money, mo problems. He's like, oh, sweet. We split. We're up 1. We're 1-1 against Phoenix, and we got Paul George and Kawhi. Wait, we don't have either of them. Who do we have? Well, you got Russell Westbrook. So.
Yep. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and the scheduling of this series is kind of strange. I mean, they're playing every other day, and I worried about how many minutes that Booker and Durant were playing. I didn't even think of the Kawhi Leonard issue. So yeah, he's going to be out. That's thrown the markets into a little bit of a tizzy. We locked in Russell Westbrook over his PRA, points, rebounds, and assists. That has gone from 33.5 to 36.5. So that's a very aggressive line movement, and it makes sense. A couple stats here, Joe. Just in this series, Phoenix Suns have shot the ball 173 times. Kawhi has 43 of them. They've scored They've scored 224 points. Kawhi has 69 of those points. I mean, you're talking 25 to 30% of the offensive production that they've had in this series is not going to be there, and that's not even taking into account the defense that he puts on Kevin Durant and some of these other guys. It's a massive, massive issue. So Norm Powell is going to be inserted into the starting lineup. I think most people would say, well, with Kawhi out, Norm Powell goes in the starting lineup, and you got to take his points, rebounds, and assists. But you always got to remember the books know this too. They have him juiced up pretty good. I believe he's at 28.5. I would be very, very cautious about just thinking that Norm Powell is going to come in and have a huge game. Could he do it? Of course. I would lean more towards some of the other starters, such as Eric Gordon. I think he sees a few more shots. And I would look real hard at Zubac and maybe even Mason Plumlee on some of their rebounding. They're going to have to dominate the boards. Those two guys have a big task tonight. They cannot let Phoenix control the rebounding. Kawhi is big on the rebounds and big on defense. And if there's one area that you can really have an advantage over Phoenix, it's kind of muscling DeAndre Ayton out of the way. He had 13 rebounds last game. If I'm Ty Lue, I'm telling Plumlee and Zubac, like, you guys have to win the rebounding battle tonight. If we're gonna have a chance, you guys got to do it. So I would look at Zubac over his rebounds. And on the flip side from Phoenix, listen, I was gonna look at Kevin Durant on his points, rebounds, and assists tonight. He came up just short in the last game, but he only had a few shots because they focused on taking him out. That's why Booker had the big game. Booker had a lot of open shots. So did Chris Paul. Why? They were putting all their defensive efforts on Durant. Now, man, I would find it hard to stay off of Kevin Durant at this 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists. It opens up rebounding opportunities for Durant. Obviously, the scoring is going to be a lot more of an issue. And I thought Devin Booker looked great, and I would think defense is going to shade towards him. He did use a lot of energy, so this is a good game if Phoenix is up in the fourth quarter to kind of save some minutes on these guys. I would be nervous at going back to Chris Paul. I don't think he needs to have that big of a game tonight because I think the other weapons are going to get it done. I like Eric Gordon to go over his points. I like Zubac over his rebounds. Ayton is probably going to go over his rebounds again. They got it at 10.5. He had 13 again. And then I would look at Durant over his points, rebounds, and assists. And the last one, I think you have to look at Phoenix over their team total at 116.5. Even with Kawhi, they put up 123 last game. It's a huge loss on defense for them. I like Phoenix to have a pretty good offensive game tonight.
Have you found that it's maybe still a little difficult to figure out who the alpha dog is on Phoenix? Like, are we looking at Booker? Is it going to be one of those things anyway? We're rotating game by game. Like Durant goes off. It just feels like I don't know if they know who's going to be that alpha dog. Makes prop betting a little bit tough with the Phoenix Suns right now.
Yeah, we haven't had a lot of them. We took a loss on Kevin Durant over his points, rebounds, and assists last game. Like I said, we were excited to come back to it. And yeah, when the team doesn't know their identity, of course, there's no way for us to know it. I think this is a great opportunity for them tonight to kind of flourish a little bit. The double team on Durant was very effective last game. He still had 25 points, I believe. So yeah, Phoenix is a little bit difficult. But here's what we do know. We do know they're not using their bench. We know that the starters better, have some ice baths ready for them after the game because they're playing 40 minutes, 35 minutes. So if they do get ahead, they're going to utilize the bench quite a bit in the fourth quarter. But yeah, they're a little bit of a difficult team. I can't see myself playing a lot of Phoenix Suns props as the playoffs go on until they really figure themselves out and figure out because with Booker and Durant, you almost have to know what the other team is going to do. The other team is kind of stuck. Yep. We're going to focus on one guy. Which guy is it going to be? Sometimes we don't know that.
So it's interesting, too. I see our boy Nicholas Lee in here. Happy 420 to you. 2 as well. Somebody please put a welfare check out for Tony Finn. But we want to check it out here, Andy, because he's got an interesting one tonight, too. He's got a parlay of Nets first half, plus a 1.5. Golden State Warriors first half, minus 4.5. A little two-teamer there, and I get both of them, right? If both teams are at home, both teams down 2 games to none. I don't hate it because it certainly makes sense. If they don't get it done the first half, both those teams are probably in trouble. No, Andy?
Yeah, Golden State's going to be the best leg of that parlay. Just their insane home road splits. You got to believe Golden State's going to be rocking. The Nets, not really sure about that one. Jacques Vaughn gave a pretty open and honest in-game interview with the sideline reporter. They asked him about the first quarter you're shooting a lot of 3-pointers, and he just said, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're not big enough inside for Embiid. We're going to be playing fast, and we're going to be shooting a lot of 3-pointers. It didn't work out last game. They shot horrifically from the field from 3, but they stuck to it. They played fast. One of the bad parts about that was they got real tired as the game got on and missed a ton of 3-point shots. So they're going to use the same strategy. I think they know that's their only path to victory against Philly is to shoot 45% from 3-pointers. But it's a dangerous game, though, Joe. We saw it with the Miami Heat. Miami steals game 1 against the Bucks. They shot 60% from threes. It's amazing what happens when you don't shoot 60% from threes. You get blown off the court. So the Nets, you are just rolling the dice that they're going to make a lot of 3-pointers tonight. I'm not sure I would say that's an amazing part of a parlay. Why not just stick with Golden State? I like that part the best. I don't think you need a parlay piece with that.
Good stuff there. All right, guys, coming up, we got one final one for you here, Andy. We'll get you out of here as Adam Trigger is on deck. Get ready to break down a KBO game here coming up. He's on an amazing run in the KBO, 7-1, I think, here. So we'll have another winning ticket coming your way. But what about it? TM is getting ready to run to the window, wants to know, do the Suns cover? Andy, he's about to place that bet. What are you thinking, man?
Well, they're minus 7.5. Here, we're talking about this.
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Outstanding.
Yeah, just throw them all together. Throw Vegas Golden Knights to win. Throw Colorado Avalanche to win. Throw the Phoenix Suns to win.
Get them all.
Yeah, go for it. We've seen this with these star players. We saw it with Ja Morant. Not playing for Memphis. I think that's a dangerous comparison. Memphis is really good without him. They've shown that they can win a lot of games without Ja Morant. Myself and Tony Mejia go back and forth. I've made the case that Memphis is actually better without Ja Morant, and Tony Mejia thinks I'm crazy. Are the Clippers better without Kawhi Leonard and Russell Westbrook as your main guy? No, absolutely not. So, I would not put money on the Clippers. The other thing is, this news just came out. Did the team not know about this? This isn't anything that I think they planned for. So I think Phoenix has got to be licking their chops. The Phoenix minus 7.5 is the only way that I would play this one on the spread, though.
Outstanding. Andy Lang, guys, take advantage of that promo right now. WW20, Friday through Sunday, $39. Don't forget, that's 2 5% plays he's got locked and loaded on Saturday at his page at WagerTalk.com. Andy Lang, always a pleasure, man. We'll see you tomorrow morning, I believe, on Prop It Up, man. Good luck here tonight.
Thanks. Good luck, everyone.
You got it. All right, Andy Lang. And we're going to keep rolling on here. We had a little day baseball here today, and then we got a little crackhead baseball coming up tonight. And I can't think of anybody more suited to the KBO that I believe starts at around 3:30 in the morning than our man Adam Trigger joining us here. Love it. But listen, there is nothing like waking up in the morning, right? Looking at that balance and be like, oh, look at that. We won a game in the KBO last night, didn't we, my man? Welcome in. 7-1 run right now, dude. You're crushing it once again in the KBO.
Yeah, great start to the KBO season, Joe. I hopefully MLB will start to pick up for me same way. I've been like battling right around, just staying, just above even. It's like I'll get a nice little cushion, lose a couple in MLB, get a nice little cushion, lose a couple. But KBO has picked up the slack, 7-1 in the last 8. I have a 4% KBO play that goes in the morning, and those are all discounted. So that one's on my page for just $9. I'm going to talk about another KBO game on the show and answer any questions in baseball. I didn't have a Major League Baseball best bet today, but I'm happy to talk any of the 5 games. And yeah, it's rolling, and I love the 5:30 a.m. Eastern start on the East Coast. Tough when you're out in Vegas though, Joe. That 2:30 a.m.
Yes.
start is not convenient either way. Can't stay up late enough. Can't get up early enough. But out here, East Coast 5:30 a.m. start. It's a great way to start the day.
Yeah, no, you can't go wrong here, my man. And you've got, I mean, nobody has the finger on the pulse. I mean, look at that, 7-1 run already. You've got to play up right now, KBO. But talk to us here about. And by the way, guys, any MLB questions? Really, we still got Reds, Pirates, Rockies, Phillies getting ready. First pitch, Dodgers, Cubs, Padres, Diamondbacks, as well as the Mets and the Giants tonight. So, any questions you guys have, drop them in the chat here, and we'll see if we'll pepper Adam here, see if we can get to as many as possible. But start us off here, man, with the KBO. What are you looking at here in the early morning hours?
Yeah, so here's one. I was just my Twitter is still live with the Spaces, Joe. I left Spaces to come do this show. We still have guys talking on my Twitter. I'm on the show here, so I'm just gonna kind of continue the conversation of a game that we were talking about when I got off because it is one of the sides I looked at. Didn't quite get to the window with it, but I do think that there's merit to playing this side in KBO in the morning, and that's the SSG Landers. So Joe, Kwang Hyun Kim, former St. Louis Cardinal, Korean-born pitcher. He's a guy right now that could probably still be on a major league team. He went back to Korea amid sort of the uncertainty of last season starting. If you guys remember, we had a lockout. Season didn't start until maybe 2 weeks later than it should have. And I think his sort of he wasn't sure if he was going to end up on the team on a team, wasn't sure exactly what was going to transpire with the lockout. So he decided to go back to Korea and sign a very lucrative contract for him there with the SSG Landers, who he led to a title last season. His numbers were phenomenal. First year back in the KBO, spent like 2 or 3 seasons in Major League Baseball and had good numbers in Major League Baseball. But last year in the KBO, 2.13 ERA, 1.07 WHIP. Just and early in the year, he was virtually unhittable. Joe, I honestly think he got bored at one point, and like
Oof.
those numbers are as good as they are with him sort of going through the motions toward the end of the year because it was like SSG had a huge lead on the rest of the league. So I think those numbers are even like almost understated to an extent. And then he comes right back and dominates in the postseason. This year, he starts out his ERA 6.75, 2.38, but he's only made like 1.5 starts. He left one of his starts early, a little shoulder inflammation. He was obviously pitching through injury. Believe he's a guy that went and pitched in the World Baseball Classic, so you've got some residual from that. But he's had 10 days off. He says the arm feels good. Said it was inflammation and pretty standard sort of 10-day recovery through a side session. Apparently, all is well. And I think if that's the case, even though I like this Kiwoom team and I think there's merit to backing them sort of long term, I think I would take a shot with SSG here, even at the current price. So this opened up, I think it was like minus 115. It's been bet up a little bit, but I agree with that move. Kiwoom's a good team. Like when it's all said and done, and the reason that this didn't make a client play for me, Joe, is when it's all said and done, I think Kiwoom might be better than SSG this year. They've got a handful of the top players in this league. However, one of those guys is probably going to miss tomorrow. But they're also a left-handed heavy lineup, and that's going to be really tough against Kim. So even though Ariel Gerardo, another import guy, goes for Kiwoom, he pitched really good in his last start. The league hasn't seen him. All things I typically like to back. In this spot, I would be more willing to back Kwang Hyun Kim just because I don't think the injury was a big deal. And just knowing what he does to left-handed hitters in this league and the fact that Kiwoom, some of their better hitters are left-handed, I just think that it gives you enough of an edge to justify a bet on SSG. So not something I made it to the window with for a client play, but in terms of the next best thing that's out there in KBO tomorrow morning, I think SSG is probably on that list. So Landers, I want to say it's up to like minus 130 or minus 135. I think they're a good bet, and I do think they get it done on Friday. What for us is Friday morning.
Right. Okay. So coming up, SG. Let me ask you, Trig. Obviously, some different changes so far this year in Major League Baseball. We're seeing more balls put in play. The home runs are up a little bit. We're not seeing as many strikeouts. What are some of the impressions early on with KBO? Is it business as usual? Are you seeing more hitting, less hitting, more runs, less runs? Anything standing out to you so far in the season here with KBO?
Well, no, Joe, because they don't change the rules because they're just playing baseball as it was intended to be played, and it's fine. The game wasn't broken, didn't need to be fixed. That being said, Joe, I don't hate the rule change. There's one I hate with a passion, and it's the fact that we're putting ghost runners on base in extra innings like we're playing out in the schoolyard. I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me. What I do love about the KBO is the fact that after 12 innings, the game is a tie. There's nothing wrong with ties. Major League Baseball could do that, and then we could play out 12 innings instead of getting to the extra innings, and all of a sudden we've got, teams putting up 4 runs, and then it's like, I don't like what it's done to totals betting. You can't bet full game unders anymore because it's like a great handicap. You get to extra innings, it's 2-2. Now it's 5-4. So, but with that being said, Joe, I do like I like the bigger bases. I like that teams are running more. I like that the shift is forcing teams to sort of hit for contact a little bit more. All things that I think make baseball a great game. And I have been able to benefit off of it a little bit so far this year. I thought it would really help the Arizona Diamondbacks. I came on Wager Talk programming, gave out Arizona Diamondbacks season win total over on virtually every show. And they're off to a fantastic start currently, first place in the National League, in the NL West. And I think our season win total there was something like 74.5. So, and that was, sort of predicated on the fact that they have exceptional team speed. Corbin Carroll, one of the fastest guys in the league. And I thought that they would steal bases, and they're right up at the top of the league in stolen bases. And I think it's really helping their offense. So just kind of my take on the rule changes. But no, they haven't changed anything in Korea. And I think that's actually been also a benefit to me, Joe, because everything's kind of playing out the way I thought it would.
And that's what it's all about. Eliminating that variance. That's what it's all about here, Trig. We do have a question in the chat with our boy Vegas DGen ready to go here. And of course, boy, oh boy, Tatis is apparently just coming in. You're gonna go 5 for 5, 3 home runs, Trig. I mean, it's gonna be like he never left, except maybe the first swing he's gonna pop that shoulder of his again, and we won't see him for another 8 months. So what are we thinking here? Is the Tatis Jr. Is this hype worth it, or are we overvaluing because of what he did here in the minor league starts leading up to this?
Well, Joe, I don't think. Listen, is he going to come in? His minor league numbers in rehab? He's hitting .515 with 7 home runs and 15 RBIs in 8 games. Is he going to do that? No. Could he inject some life into a Padres lineup that desperately needs it? Yes. I actually think that's probable because I don't think this Padres offense is as bad as we've seen. I think they're in need of a little bit of a jolt. And at bare minimum, I think just him being back in the clubhouse, his energy is going to give this team a little boost that I think is really going to help them out. Fernando Tatis Jr. has not played a Major League Baseball game since October 3rd, 2021. So, and prior to that, and listen, there was, some things that transpired that fans were upset with, and rightfully so. But I really think he's a likable guy. I think they like him in that organization. And I think him being back is going to do them well. Now, I didn't get to the window with the Padres tonight, partly because I'm obviously pretty high on the Diamondbacks, although I do think there could be some regression for the Diamondbacks in the future. Just some of the underlying metrics suggest that they're going to play start to trend back toward the mean a little bit. But I thought it was interesting that Ryan Nelson, for the Diamondbacks, young pitcher who I think is pretty solid, 7 career starts, Joe, 4 of them already against the Padres. So interesting that there's sort of a little bit of familiarity there, and I think that typically sort of it's tougher for the young pitcher, right? Like these are major league hitters. Ryan Nelson is a young pitcher. Now he's a good pitcher. He's had really good stuff, but that's a little bit concerning for me. So I lean toward the Padres there, but certainly not anything that I was able to get to the window with. I guess the better take here, Joe, is I wouldn't be surprised to see the Padres get it going this week. They know D-backs pitching. The D-backs, Diamondbacks pitching lacks some depth. So if they got into the back end of that bullpen, there's some hittable pitching in there. And I just think Tatis is going to be a potential spark. And the games are at Chase Field, one of the best hitting backdrops. You know, they did the humidor thing a couple years ago, took some of our home runs away. But it's still, if you ask Major League Baseball players, where do you love to hit? It's consensus. Coors Field, Chase Field. It's almost always those two answers. Chase Field has been arguably, considered the best batter's eye in the game. Very clear backdrop to hit against, and I would not be surprised if that trip to the desert gets the Padres offense going a little bit. So sort of lean their way tonight, but maybe a spot this weekend that's an ideal one to back the Padres.
Yeah, no, we'll see. They could use a spark with that offense for sure there, but Trig doesn't need a spark. 7-1 run right now in KBO. He's got that 4% best bet up over at his page now for KBO coming up overnight. Make sure you guys take advantage of that. Not to mention, of course, great weekend in Major League Baseball coming your way. And Trig, he's here for you guys. Always a pleasure. Go hit your spaces, man. Hop on there, guys. Go visit him over at the spaces so we can finish that up. And then we'll talk to you again tomorrow, my man. Good luck with the plays tonight.
Thanks, Joe. And I want to just point out one other thing. That KBO play, that 4%er, if you use the Weekend Warrior discount, that is a Friday game. So even though it's overnight, it's got a Friday date on it. It will be included in that package, which is a great deal for any of the handicappers on the site.
Go get it done, guys. Take advantage of it. Trig, good luck, man. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for hanging out with us here. Another edition of Last Call. We'll be back again Saturday, 11 a.m. Of course, a huge slate of sports betting opportunities on this weekend. Saturday, more NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, full Major League Baseball card, UFC this weekend. A lot going on. We'll answer any of those last-minute questions coming up this Saturday. Meghan Payton will be back in this chair. But until then, guys, appreciate you hanging out with us. Best of luck with all the plays here tonight. We'll see you again on Saturday. Good luck.